Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it's your first time here. We've got another fun Christmas tutorial for you today. We are gearing down on the Christmas cups for this season. I can't believe it. Time is flying by so fast. We've only got 2 weeks until Christmas, which is crazy. So this is a quick little last minute Christmas cup that you can make if you are feeling festive. So this is going to be a peekaboo version of the icon stripes tutorial that I made for Halloween. That was a very popular video, and a lot of you asked me to make a Christmas one, and I thought, you know what, I could make the exact same thing and just make it themed like Christmas, but that wouldn't really be a new or different take. It would just be the same exact tutorial with different colors. So I thought that I could give you guys another version of that same kind of idea, but we're gonna make it a peekaboo because I am who I am, okay? So I'm starting out with my 24-ounce plump tumbler from the Tipsy Magnolia, and as you saw there, I measured the height of my cup, which is about the same as a 20-ounce skinny, so my measurements are not too different. And now with all of these steps, you'll want to keep in mind that this is going to be a peekaboo, so you don't need to be super duper uber perfect with any of these steps before we do the peekaboo. I'm trying to be as perfect as possible, but you really don't need to be, so don't worry about it. So just like in the original video, I'm taking my 1-inch stripes here, and I just cut a bunch of 1-inch wide strips out of vinyl, and I'm putting those on my tumbler, alternating each stripe, and we're going to paint and glitter the stripes just the same way I did in the Halloween video. So once I've got all of my vinyl striping on, I'm going to go in with one of my colors. The colors I'm using are about the same level of darkness, I guess you would say. I'm going to use red and green. Obviously, this is Christmas. And I'm just picking which one I want to use first. If you're using a dark color and a light color, you'll want to use the darkest color first, just to be safe and prevent any contamination that you might have putting the darker color into a lighter color, if that makes sense. But for me, they're the same level of darkness in my brain, so I'm just going to start with my green. I mixed together my green acrylic paint with my Crystalac glitter glue, and now I'm base painting and gluing all of my exposed strips, and then I'm going to go in with my glitter, which is Balsam from Chase Ray Creations. The two glitters that we're using today are a very similar mix, just different colors, so the look and texture and size of the glitter and all of that is the same, which I think really helps the final look. You don't have to use the same like family of glitter if you don't want to. If you want to use a chunky and a fine, or like two different sizes, you definitely can, but these came in a pack together, so I thought it would be perfect to use them together. After I'm finished applying my glitter, I'm going to immediately remove the vinyl that I've got masking off my other stripes. Now the vinyl I used here is permanent vinyl because that's what I have. I'm just trying to get rid of it. And I'll tell you, it was really hard to get off my cup. So I would recommend using removable vinyl if you have that. You could also use stencil vinyl. And you also don't even have to use vinyl at all. You can just use regular painter's tape if you want to. Totally up to you. I think any of those three options would be easier than using permanent vinyl like I did. Just save yourself the headache and use something else. So I'm going to let this glitter dry for at least 2 hours, and then I'm going to go right into my next glitter color. Again, I'm mixing my red acrylic paint with my Crystalac glitter glue, and I'm going to repeat the exact same steps that I did for the green glitter with my red glitter. Now, if at this point you're thinking, wow, this looks a little Freddy Krueger-ish, you wouldn't be wrong, but don't worry, in the end, it's going to look Christmassy, I promise. We're doing a peekaboo, remember? So it's not going to look like anything scary or haunted or monstery, okay? So once I've got my glitter on, I did seal everything with my Crystal glitter glue and water mixture, and then I added 2 coats of the new Flynn Sisters Supply Shop Fast Cure epoxy, did a little bit of quick light sanding, and now I'm ready to go in and apply my icons. If you want to know how I orient my icon stripes or how I set up each little section, you can go back and watch the Halloween video. I go into detail about how I get everything set up. Now for this peekaboo, again, I'm using permanent vinyl, and I did it strategically for these stripes because everything I'm cutting out is really tiny and delicate, lots of thin lines going on here, and I feel like when I use my stencil vinyl for super tiny things, for some reason, it just doesn't cut as cleanly. The stencil vinyl comes off the backing super easily, so if my blade like drags a little bit, it lifts off the backing and just messes everything up. So I'm using permanent vinyl because it just works better when I'm cutting it out with my silhouette machine. So once I've got all of my strips cut out, I'm going to decide which order I want to put them in on my peekaboo, just kind of deciding like, oh, what do I want to be green? What's going to be red? That kind of thing. So once I've got them all laid out, I'm going to just go stripe by stripe, putting my little icon stencils within the middle of the colored stripe. Again, this does not have to be super perfect because in the end, you're not going to know that we had this whole entire stripe deal going on underneath the peekaboo. You'll be able to tell a little bit, but it's not going to be like, wow, that stripe's not straight, or like that's not super lined up. You're really not going to be able to tell. So again, perfection is not the main goal here. I'm just going to work my way down the entire tumbler, going icon by icon, stripe by stripe, and then we'll meet up at the end once we've got all our stencils down. Okay, once we've got all our icons on, the cup looks like this. And now again, if you wanted to, you could do just the icon stripes like I did in the original Halloween tutorial, but I wanted to change it up a little bit and show you a different variation of the design. So of course, in true Mal fashion, we're doing a peekaboo. We're not going to do a glitter peekaboo here, although you could. I thought it would just be way too stressful, way too time consuming, and way too difficult to do a glitter peekaboo over all of these super tiny stencils, because then before your glitter dries, so whether you're using epoxy method or another type of glue, before it dries you have to go through and peel up all of those stencils. So while you could do a traditional glitter peekaboo, I didn't feel like putting myself through all that stress this holiday season. So we're going to do a plain acrylic paint, and then we'll add a little bit of extra glitter on the top. Don't worry, it is coming. Come on, you guys know me. To zhuzh it up just a little bit. I let my paint dry for about an hour before I was ready to go in and peel up my decals. As I'm sure you all know by now, this is my favorite thing on the planet. I love peeling up stencils and revealing glitter underneath. It just brings me so much joy. And when I don't have to rush or worry about glitter drying or getting glue all over my hands or like touching epoxy, just the best thing ever. To peel up all of my stencils, I'm using my pin pen here, but you can use tweezers or whatever tool you think works best for you. I alternate between the pin pen and tweezers just depending on the day. And this, like I said earlier, is permanent vinyl, so it's not going to be the easiest to pull up, but the faster you do it, and I mean between the time of applying the decals to the tumbler to the time that you're peeling the decals up, however short you can make that period will make the decals easier to pull up. Because if you stick a permanent vinyl decal down, as time goes on, the longer time you let go, the longer you let it sit there, the adhesive is just gonna like grip itself into that cup, and it's gonna make it harder to remove. At least that's been the case in my experience. So I always try to do this within one long step. Like I wouldn't put my stencils on and then just let the stencils sit on my cup overnight, because that's just gonna make the adhesive stronger and make this process a whole lot more difficult. After peely time, it's time for epoxy time. Now, like I said earlier, we are going to add some extra glitter onto the top of our peekaboo to give it that extra sparkle that we all know and love. So to start out, into my epoxy, I'm going to mix a little bit of Special Edition Flurries, which is a super fine, just really shimmery glitter. I'm not doing a lot of this because I don't want to overwhelm the design, and we are going to add more glitter later. So this is just to give the entire cup a very soft, subtle sparkle. I'm still using the Flynn Sisters Supply Shop Fast Cure Epoxy here, and this coat is about 20 milliliters. Once that coat is cured, we're ready to add more glitter and more epoxy to the tumbler. You can see I've got quite a few air bubbles and stuff going on in my cup, and I think part of that is because I didn't let the acrylic paint dry overnight. I went right into epoxy after just that 1 hour of dry time. And I think I probably could have let it sit just a little bit to maybe gas off, or I don't know, do whatever it needs to do. But that's not a problem I've really ever had before. So it was just a one-off kind of thing, and you really can't tell in the end result. So I'm just moving forward as normal. Now into this next coat of epoxy, I'm going to mix in 2 chunkier glitters from Chase Ray Creations. I'm using Quartz and then a new color called Below Zero. It's a beautiful like silvery white. And I'm going to very strategically place this onto my tumbler. This is still fast setting epoxy, so I don't have a ton of time to work here, but I wanted to do this step after that first coat of epoxy was cured, and I wanted to do this off my turner so I could have maximum control. This is also a very, very thin layer of epoxy. Like, I wouldn't even call this a coat of epoxy because I've got maybe 5 to 7 milliliters of leftover epoxy in my cup that I mixed this glitter into. So you can see this mix that I've got is very chunky, and it's not really moving a lot because there's no plain epoxy to make it flow and move around the tumbler, which is exactly what I want. I want this glitter to pretty much stay where I'm putting it. Now, I don't really mind if a couple of these little chunky glitter pieces get into the glitter peekaboo sections. I just don't want it to overwhelm the design. Now, of course, like I always say, if you don't want to add the extra glitter, you definitely don't have to, but I wanted a little bit of extra sparkle because we have so much plain white on this tumbler. I wanted to make it sparkly. I couldn't just have plain white, you know? That just couldn't be correct. Once I've got my glitter on the tumbler, I am going to put it on my turner so that everything levels out and cures properly. It's a thin enough coat that I probably could put it on my drying rack, but I wanted to be safe and just put it on my turner. After that coat was cured, I did another very thin coat of just plain epoxy to smooth the glitter out and make sure that we're ready for our decal. If you don't want to add a decal, you don't have to, but I love a good decal. So after that coat of epoxy, I sanded everything down, made sure it was totally smooth, and now I'm going to add my layered decal. This SVG is available, I'm pretty sure, in my Etsy shop. I'll have to double check, but it says, "Don't get your tinsel in a tangle," which is one of my favorite Christmas quotes. I think it's so fun. And I've got a double offset here. So for the bottom layer, I've got plain white vinyl. And then for the middle layer, I've got a green regular permanent vinyl that kind of matches the green we've got in our glitter peekaboo section. And then for the top layer, no surprise here, it's the champagne gold textured metallic vinyl from TECKWRAP. You guys didn't think I could make a whole tumbler and not use that at all, did you? After the decal, I finished off the bottom of the tumbler just with some UV resin, and then I mixed that red glitter Dear Santa that we used in the Peekaboo. I mixed that into my UV resin and just filled the entire bottom of the cup with that. And then I added my last 2 coats of epoxy. Once that was done, we are all done. So here is the final tumbler design. Of course, because this is a Peekaboo, I inherently just love it more. But I really like this rendition of the icon stripes tutorial. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and I also want to know what your favorite Christmas movie is. I keep going back and forth between what my favorite one is because I love Christmas movies. I feel like It's a Wonderful Life would be a really good one. I really like the Santa Claus movies, of course Elf. So let me know what your favorite is down below, and thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Okay, love you. Bye.